for you guys to receive your level 1 certification from us over the next, whenever that may happen, I'm just going to give you some information that I feel that everybody should have in order to get out there and be a successful instructor. Some of these things maybe you've thought of before, some of them might be new concepts, but hopefully it inspires some thought. Which, by the way, one of the things that I asked you guys to do is to review your materials and whatnot, and then write down some questions if you had them from yesterday. Does anybody have any of those for me before we get started? No?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm just going to assume that was because yesterday was so detail-oriented that there's just no way you could possibly have any questions. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll just choose to believe that, and I may or may not be right. Okay, so one kind of thought-provoking concept to talk about is what separates a martial artist from a martial arts teacher or a martial arts instructor. So the way that you approach martial arts needs to be very multifaceted when you're going to be an instructor as opposed to just a student of the arts in general. So as a student of the arts, especially in this day and age of the information is so accessible, I can learn just about anything about any art that I want to at a moment's notice, right? From the push of the button. I can pull my phone out and watch a video on how, one system or philosophy of martial arts says that I should block a straight punch, or how I should escape from being mounted, or whatever the case might be, right? I can see all that kind of stuff. And so as if I'm just a student, I may train at a facility. I might have, see a lot of people now that they have a membership at a brick and mortar martial arts school, and they have 2 different memberships of online, databases or, resource libraries, or even like the Global Martial Arts University, training that way with friends. They might be doing just a whole range of things, and you can sort of selfishly go from subject to subject and just study whatever tickles your fancy for that day and whatever. But as a martial arts instructor, it's your job to sort of look through the lens of an instructor for every little thing that you're considering. So, for example, being a smaller person, some of my grappling maneuvers or some of my Krav Maga defenses where I'm escaping from a larger person grabbing me, or whatever the case might be, I have certain modifications that I have to make, just being a smaller person. To me, that's kind of a good litmus test to run your defenses through, just to make sure that it's a good defense in general, because kind of like we've spoken about before, if it's a good defense, in my opinion, that means it would work if the proverbial 120-pound female is able to do it and get away and remain safe against the 250-pound aggressive male. And so all those considerations need to be taken into account. When I teach multiple body types, though, I need to know things that might not even apply to myself in order to be able to accommodate those different people in my classes. Okay? So whereas when I'm a student, I'm like, I already know that, don't even care about it. Or I'm not that body type, so I don't care about that technique. Or I have this pre-existing injury or lack of mobility, range of motion, whatever, so I don't care about that. Well, guess what? If you're an instructor, you need to care about all of those things, and you need to understand them. And even if you don't teach them, you need to tell me why you don't teach them. Okay, so it's not like I don't ever want the answer to that question be, because I don't know it. I want to at least have seen it, and if I don't teach it, I want to be able to articulate why that goes against my personal philosophy of instruction, or the philosophy of the martial arts systems that I'm teaching, or whatever the case might be. But it's an important shift, I think, for me personally, was understanding that, if I have a 250-pound student that's a nice guy, like, he shouldn't be penalized for being that large, and even if he's really in shape, or that's good for you, he needs to know how to defend himself too. And unfortunately, there are even larger people than him out there, so there's just so much to it. So if I have certain techniques that maybe I wouldn't even do, I still need to learn those, take those in, and think about those so that I can pull them out for the appropriate student at the appropriate time. Okay, so and then also your personal journey of the martial arts should be taking place simultaneously as well. So one of the things that I find to be massively important is you need to be a martial artist yourself and remain a student as well as being an instructor, and that's how you're going to evolve in both ways. So I need to take things in a certain way to be a good instructor, but I also need to make sure that I'm still on my personal journey, because one of the things that it's easy to fall into, one of the ways of thinking it's easy to fall into, is once you start teaching, you cease to be a student. And of course, that's not a good way of doing it, because that implies that you either know everything or you know everything worth knowing, so there's no need for you to take in any new information, and you just become a source of knowledge, and you don't take in any new knowledge. So obviously not a great idea. I want to evolve, and I want to be able to articulate how and why I've evolved, on my own personal journey. So where I am right now is different than where I was 5 years ago. Maybe I'm in some ways I'm more fit than I used to be, and maybe in some ways I'm less fit, more flexible, less flexible, acquired some new injuries, or whatever the case might be. And so the way that I take in information for my own personal journey is going to be separate than what I'm taking on as my journey as an instructor, to continue to be a better and better instructor, all that good stuff. And so in order for me to understand that information, I need to be a good student, and I need to be very studious in the sense that I maybe maintain a journal, maybe I maintain a reading list for new styles of martial arts that I'm learning about or reading about, or why something is good, why something is bad, and sort of challenging the information that I currently have. And I need to be able to categorize that information in such a way that I can teach it effectively. Right? So my ability to, it's not even, so first of all, I've been talking about, sometimes I need to take in information that may or may not even work for me, just so I can teach it to my students. Now I need to be able to convey that information in an effective way. Okay? So knowing is not good enough. You need to be able to teach it as well. So what we'll find is sometimes somebody is a phenomenal martial artist, and they're just not able to teach, maybe because they haven't been taught how to teach. Doing instructor training like this is very important, and I commend you guys for being here today, because that shows that you're investing in your development, your personal development as an instructor and as a martial artist. But you need to be able to convey this information to other people, and that is a big reason why I think you need to know the why. You need to understand why these techniques are taking place. It's never just because my instructor told me to and I'm just teaching it back to you. When people ask you questions, that I love those questions, and I want to be able to answer them in an effective way and really truly help that person. So your ability to convey that information is obviously extremely important.